Good afternoon, everybody. The start of a mega week of Norwich City travel begins here in Huddersfield. Norwich City hoping to retain their unbeaten status at the start of this campaign against Neil Warnock's side. David Wagner's homecoming of sorts, I guess, here at the John Smith Stadium this afternoon. Really serene football ground. This really lovely to look at. Connor Southwell joined by Paddy Dowd for the Team News Live. We thought we'd kickstart a little bit early just to reflect very, very quickly on Norwich City's signing of Adam Forshaw, which was confirmed this morning at 10 o'clock. He is here. We've seen him here. We're probably expecting him to be on the bench in about a minute or so. Paddy, before we come to the team news, just your reaction, your reflections, your thought process over the last couple of days as to how this has panned out. What do you make of the Adam Forshaw signing?
There are plenty of positives to it. I've seen, obviously the injury element, and I must confess I haven't had a chance, even though we knew for a few days that this was in the pipeline, having been down at Colney on Thursday and spotted him for David's pre-match press conference late on Thursday afternoon. So there is that in the background. But I've just actually, before I jumped in to record here, he played 33, I think, games the last two seasons for Leeds, Premier League standard. So that's not, to me, an injury-prone player. Yes, it looks like he's had a bit of a hip issue earlier in his career. But, he's obviously come through a two-part medical, so there's no current issues with him, which, has felt like an undercurrent with some of Norwich's signings in the last 2 or 3 windows. But you take that off the table, then excellent piece of business, because he has that pedigree of playing in a demanding club, which is Leeds United. You play for Leeds, you've got to handle the expectation that comes with trying to get out of this division. He's done it successfully. 31, well, in the seam that is Duffy, Barnes, Fashnak even turns 30 in a month or two's time. You wouldn't say he's overly too old in that regard. So, and what we're led to believe is he is seen as cover for Sarah McLean. And I think it was interesting. Sam and myself did a Pinkham subscriber Q&A on Monday last, and that question was asked. And I'm replying to it Monday lunchtime, and I'm thinking, well, Gibbs, Sorensen, they can do elements of what McLean and Sarah bring. But no, actually, if there was, heaven forbid, an injury to one of those two players, who is coming in to fill that area of the pitch with the experience, with the nous of what's required at the top end of the Championship. Now they've got that type of player. And, yes, it's worth pointing out, he was free agent, released by Leeds. I don't know what his pre-season's like. We've not had an opportunity to speak to him. I don't know where he is in terms of his fitness cycle, but it will be interesting if he is on the bench today, because that would tell you that physically that they feel he could come in, because you never know the way this game pans out. He might need to come on and do a job, so there's obviously no concerns on that front.
No, and let's bring you that Norwich City team, which is unchanged, unsurprisingly, from last Sunday's 3-1 victory against Millwall. So line up with Angus Gunn in goal, his 99th appearance for Norwich City this afternoon. Stacey, Duffy, Gibson and Yanulis, the back four. Sarah and McLean, that midfield two has been so formidable in the first part of this season. Kenny McLean, of course, taking the captain's armband. Fashnak and Rowe, the two wide players. John Rowe looking for his 5th goal in as many games, with that front two of Ashley Barnes and Josh Sargent up front. And the subs bench does include Adam Forshaw. Norwich City have George Long, Andrew Omobamidele, Sam McCallum, Przemysław Poeta returns to the matchday squad after a little bit of a knock. Adam Forshaw, Liam Gibbs, Marcelino Nunez, thank you, Tony Springett and Adam Eder. So that's how Norwich City line up this afternoon. Just to run through that again, unchanged. Gunning goal, Stacey, Duffy, Gibson and Yanulis, the back four. Sarah and McLean, the midfield two. Fashnak, Rowe, the two wide men, with Barnes alongside Josh Sargent up front. A subs bench of George Long, Andrew Omobamidele, Liam Gibbs, Adam Eder, Sam McCallum, Przemysław Poeta, Marcelino Nunez, Adam Forshaw, who takes the number 29 shirt, and Tony Springett. There is Norwich City's matchday squad. Let's go back to Forshaw then. Here's an interesting one. Multiple promotions from this level, both with Leeds and Middlesbrough. Had a prolonged period at Brentford as well. He helped them get out of League One before moving to Wigan. He was actually on the bench for Middlesbrough in that 2015 playoff final, so someone that Ben Gibson will know pretty well. You kind of mentioned the midfield options, and it's interesting because I know I've seen off the back of this people speak about Jakob Sorensen, who's obviously had a period away and is expected to return to team training during the international break. Marcelino Nunez under David Wagner has played. There you go. Sorry, Marcelino Nunez, professional as ever, has played a bit more as a second striker, hasn't he, since David Wagner came in, and Liam Gibbs as well. We've seen in a bit more of an advanced role. So there maybe was a vacancy for someone a bit more deeper lying to come in and offer support, particularly probably to that role that Kenny McLean plays.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, as you've mapped out everything there, and that's pretty much where my opening remarks were. I think both in terms of experience, in terms of the position that he would have to cover in this squad, I think he does tick a box that probably wouldn't have been ticked otherwise if you're relying on a fit against Sorensen and Gibbs. They both of those players, and Nunez as well, if we're talking about it in terms of more advanced areas, centrally in the middle of the park, they offer you elements of what McLean and Zara as a pair do, but I think you would be concerned that to one of those to come out and one of those other ones to go in, that would lessen Norwich's effectiveness in what is a key area of the pitch. We haven't put the quotes out yet, but prior to obviously the Forshaw confirmation Thursday afternoon at Colney, I specifically got into David Wagner about Zara, about McLean, about that axis, and David was very clear that any team he's been in charge of, the successful teams,
well, it was Morgan Moy, wasn't it?
Exactly.
During his time here.
Midfield areas, you have to get the upper hand in that centre of the park. It's an absolutely pivotal area for a Wagner template. And in McLean and Zara, I'd take them over any other pairing in this division on what I've seen so far, early days though it is. It's big boots to fill if Forshaw had to come in at any point. But, as I say, an experienced player, he's been in sides that won promotion from this division. They'll have clearly taken a view in something David's spoken in his comments in the signing news that was confirmed today about the personality element as well, and away from the pitch and in the changing room, and that cultural architect vibe again, which they're very keen to obviously embed in this group of players. So, and financially, as David said on Thursday again, they'll only do things that they can feasibly do financially. So a 1 year for a free agent with an option, that's clearly within their wheelhouse, given they've obviously brought in money for Aarons, brought in money for Rashica. So, it looks again, it feels to me again, one of those moves this summer, and there's been a few of them that you think, yeah, you drill down, you think that's astute, that's clever, that's being creative, that's with the resource they've got financially going out and maybe maximising what they've got. He still has to come in and prove it, so does Sainz. But those two, and obviously we've already seen now, Barnes, Stacey, Duffy, Bashnak is starting to show as well. There's a common thread, I think, in this window's recruitment, that they've got more right than wrong on the early evidence.
Yeah, let me read you this brilliant stat from NCSC Numbers on X, I think it's now called, isn't it? Who has detailed this around the Adam Forshaw signing. He says the signing of Adam Forshaw means Norwich City's summer signings have had a combined 8 promotions to the Premier League between them. The Norwich City squad now has players to have 1 promotion from the Championship in 7 of the last 8 campaigns. If you're wondering what season is missing, I believe it's the 17-18 one where Wolves, Fulham and Neil Warnock's Cardiff got promoted. So I don't know if there's a player from any of those teams knocking about to complete the set. But it goes to show, doesn't it, exactly what David Wagner is after here. And you mentioned Fashnak and Sainz, and I guess spoke about a lot about this with John Rowe as well, creating that structure of experienced players to allow those younger players, Gabby, Sarah as well, you'd throw in, to flourish, because last year they didn't have a team capable of carrying that type of expressiveness within their side.
No, that is true, and I'll actually narrow the focus in terms of the older guiding forces and the younger to be proven to hit their peak in terms of their careers. Just look at the top end of the pitch. Josh Sargent now looks a completely different player with Ashley Barnes in and around him, both in terms of helping him in terms of what they're trying to do and structurally in and out of possession, but clearly just around the camp. You saw the video they put out again, the training video from midweek, and it was only a knockabout thing between them two having a bit of a crossbar challenge or a shooting challenge, but you can tell by the body language that Sargent, and to be fair, it's just popped into my head. Go back and look at the footage when Barnes scored the third against Millwall last weekend. The joy almost that Sargent felt for Barnes scoring was almost on a par with him scoring the goal. So that in microcosm is, I think, the point you're getting at, Connor, that the blend between older and younger players so far looks perfect. And of course, Forshaw will add to that more older end of the spectrum. But if you're Johnny Rowe, if you're Josh Sargent, Fisher, Gibbs, these younger players, to be in and around real good, experienced pros who know what it's all about, invaluable. And like David Wagner said about Barnes specifically last week, he knows when to have a joke and a laugh and be, kind of more relaxed around the group, but he also knows the times he's got to switch on, whether it's in training, whether it's on a game day. So, that is clearly evident in the early performances. You don't go to Southampton and perform the manner they did there with such fearlessness in and out of possession if you haven't got that kind of blend in the group that they feel themselves they can go anywhere in this division and get a result.
Yeah, and I'm really liking the blend and the balance of this Norwich City team at the moment. Let's bring you the Huddersfield starting 11. Then we've mentioned plenty of experience. Few are more experienced than Neil Warnock, who is in the home dugout this afternoon. And this is the team that he has named. Lee Nichols in goal, Edwards, Pearson, Hellick and Ruffles as the back four. Jonathan Hogg, of course, a player who was paramount importance to David Wagner during what was a very successful 3.5 years here in Yorkshire. He's partnered by Jack Rodoni. Sorba Thomas and Josh Karoma will cause issues on the flanks, and Diarra behind the experienced Danny Ward. Their subs bench: Chris Maxwell, Romani Edmonds-Green, Delano Berzorg, Jaheim Headley, Kean Howard, Pat Jones, Ben Jackson, Yuta Nakamura and Josh Alsterfield. That makes up their matchday squad this afternoon. David Wagner spoke pre-game, Paddy, about how this would be a unique challenge. He spoke specifically, and I referenced it multiple times actually, about their man-to-man style, and we know this about Neil Warnock. We saw it. I always think back to that game behind closed doors when he was in charge of Middlesbrough, and it was Darnell Fisher that day, wasn't it, who effectively managed to get Emi Buendia out of the game because of the tactical instructions that Neil Warnock put onto it. I think he was essentially man-marking him. So it can be very pragmatic, and it can be quite attritional at points. How do Norwich City answer those questions? And I guess they're probably helped by the members of staff that they have inside their backroom team.
Yeah, that definitely does help, particularly Pelach. I think you got the sense that he was very keen in the build-up here to sort of impart as much knowledge as he could from very recently being part of the Warnock backroom team. I just go back to this game here towards the end of last season, where it was your proverbial game of two halves. In the first half, I think it was Sarah scored the goal, didn't he? And Norwich was so dominant, countering, inviting Huddersfield on, transition, pace. Adam Eder was good that night down the left-hand side. If it's that type of game, then this Norwich team are considerably better now than that team. So Norwich win the game if it's that. So conversely, if you're Warnock, you want the second half style of game where they didn't give Norwich the opportunity to counter on them quite so easily. Tried to pin them in, long balls, percentages, play off big, powerful forward players, recycle it. So it's ultimately which of those two is going to hold sway, and that will dictate the outcome, won't it? If Norwich can counteract that, and that's, of course, where we're now starting to see McLean dropping deep into the back three, progressing the ball through Zara, the mobility and the interchangeability in wide areas. You'd think Norwich would have too much for this Huddersfield team, but they pushed Leicester all the way here. I think it was, wasn't it? Last weekend only got beat 1-0. They look like the standout side in the division. They then drew with Middlesbrough, who look like they've had a patchy start. It's hard to judge that result, but certainly the Leicester one for me. If Leicester have only come here and won 1-0, then that tells you, don't underestimate, dare you ever, a Warnock team, because on the balance of how these two clubs have started their respective seasons, we should only be looking at one outcome. But make no mistake, this will be in its own way every bit as tough as Southampton and pockets of the Hull game and the Millwall game. I think they'll really have to earn it today. But I would be surprised if Norwich don't get back on the coach today with 3 points.
Score?
Well, as I say, I don't think it'll be an easier win, but I'm going to go 2-1.
Looking at Adam, did I go 2-1 yesterday, I think? Yeah. Yes, I did. Right, I'm going to go 2-1 as well. Yeah, I've basically in the same school of thought with you. You have to really earn a win against the Warnock team, and I think they're still looking for their first win, obviously at home as well. I think they'll be really up for this one, and I see real threats in their starting 11, particularly on the counter attack. So Norwich are going to have to control that pretty well, as we have seen them do. Probably best at home against Hull last week. They were pretty dominant throughout. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Norwich win. So let's hope that is the case. And those Norwich fans who are filling up that away end to our right, who have travelled in great numbers this afternoon. Lots of yellow and green over there, which is really nice to see, are sent back to Norfolk very, very happy. Plenty more analysis and reaction to this game over at pinken.com. You can join the live blog on the Pinken Plus app as well. Go to our website, pinken.com, press subscribe, and you'll find all the details there. We'll also be across all social media channels as well for anyone looking to get involved in the game and follow along. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the afternoon, be it here if you're in that away end or following along from afar. Let's hope Norwich City can continue their unbeaten start to the season. Thanks for watching.